The massive room fell silent as High Counselor Zax then raised his three-fingered hand. Hundreds of alien representatives from across the galaxy sat in curved rows, their eyes fixed on the central platform. The Council will now discuss the matter of the newly discovered planet called Earth, Zax then said. His voice echoed through the chamber. Our scouts report intelligent life with early space travel capabilities. Ambassador Krell stepped forward. His scaled skin gleamed under the bright lights. The Drakai were known across the galaxy as conquerors, and Krell was their voice on the council. The humans are primitive, Krell said with a dismissive wave. Their technology is basic. Their military forces are divided. They fight among themselves over tiny patches of land. The Drakai invasion fleet requests permission to claim Earth and its resources. A soft voice spoke from the side of the chamber. I advise caution, Ambassador. All eyes turned to Ilara. The luminary representative glowed faintly in the dim light. Her people were peaceful scholars who studied other species. The humans show remarkable adaptability, Ilara continued. Our research suggests they can learn and change faster than any species we have encountered. They survived multiple extinction-level events on their planet. Krell laughed. What threat can sticks and stones pose to our warships? Ilara activated a screen that showed images from Earth. Humans went from simple flight to walking on their moon in less than 70 years. They created nuclear weapons in less than 10. They connect their entire planet with invisible data networks. They are young, but they learn quickly. The screen changed to show a recording. A small Earth science vessel floated in space. A luminary ship approached with lights flashing in greeting patterns. What happened next surprised many in the council chamber. Instead of running away or attacking, the humans established communication within hours. The ship's captain, Joe Miller, and his science officer, Susan Wright, quickly figured out basic translation and welcomed the aliens with curiosity rather than fear. Impressive for first contact, someone murmured from the back. Ambassador Krell stood taller, his tail swishing with irritation. The Drakai fleet has already set course for the human solar system. Their planet has metals, water, and land we need. Their position in the galaxy is strategic. We will take it with minimal casualties. The humans will not surrender easily, Ilara warned. They have a saying, freedom or death. They value independence above all else. All species say such things until our ships darken their skies, Krell replied. The invasion will proceed. Zax then looked troubled. The Council prefers peaceful expansion, but we have no formal protection agreement with Earth. They have not yet been offered membership, and they never will at their current technological level, Krell said. We can discuss their status after they are properly integrated into the Drakai territories. The Council voted. Most members abstained, unwilling to challenge the powerful Drakai fleet. A few voted against the invasion. Not enough. The action is approved, Zax then announced reluctantly. But the Council formally notes our recommendation for minimal force and preservation of human culture. Krell bowed mockingly. Your recommendation is noted. As the meeting ended, Ilara approached Zax then privately. This is a mistake, she said quietly. The intelligence reports clearly show that humans are uniquely dangerous when threatened. The Drakai have conquered 17 worlds, Zax then replied. What can one primitive planet do against them? On Earth, at a remote listening station in Alaska, radio operator Greg Duncan noticed strange patterns in the background radiation from space. He called his supervisor, Linda Powell. Something's coming, he said, pointing at his screen. These signals are artificial and getting stronger. Linda frowned. Send it to headquarters. Now. Across Earth, similar stations picked up the same signals. Military bases went on alert. Scientists worked to decode the fragments. One message came through clearly, though no one understood its source. They were warned about you. Be ready. The first Drakai ships entered the solar system the next day. The sky over New York City turned red as the first Drakai ships broke through the atmosphere. Similar scenes played out over every major city on Earth. Humans looked up in shock and fear. Commander William Grant stood in the lunar base control room, watching as Earth's orbital defenses failed one by one. The space stations, satellites, and defensive platforms that had seemed so impressive just hours ago now looked like toys compared to the massive alien ships. "Get me the president," Grant ordered. His face remained calm, but his knuckles turned white as he gripped the console. On Earth, underground in a government bunker, President Olivia Clark watched the satellite feeds with her advisors. The connection to the lunar base crackled. "Commander, give me options," she said. "Madam President, our weapons barely dent their shields. We need time to analyze their technology," Grant replied. "I recommend immediate evacuation of coastal cities. They seem to be targeting population centers." Before the president could respond, the feed cut out as another wave of Drakai ships appeared. In San Francisco, Dr. Lisa Johnson wasn't supposed to be in her lab at the university that night, but when the alerts started, she rushed to secure her research. As the building shook from nearby impacts, she accidentally knocked over a sample of alien material retrieved from a meteor last year. The substance reacted strangely to the emergency lights. "That's odd," she whispered, recording the reaction on her phone. The alien material seemed to vibrate at specific light frequencies. Without knowing it, she had just discovered a key weakness in Drakai shield technology. Off the coast of Japan, Navy Captain Frank Martinez commanded one of Earth's most advanced warships. It had been retrofitted with experimental weapons after the first signs of the alien approach. "All hands, battle stations," Martinez ordered. "Let's show these visitors that humans don't surrender their home without a fight." His ship managed to damage a smaller Drakai vessel before being surrounded. As his ship took heavy damage, Martinez made a decision. "Abandon ship," he ordered his crew. "I'll keep them busy." Martinez stayed behind, deliberately allowing himself to be captured rather than killed. The Drakai, curious about human command structure, took him aboard their vessel. In Chicago, the buildings crumbled as alien weapons fired from above. Among the rubble, Colonel Sam Butler pulled survivors from a collapsed hospital. "We need to organize," he told Major Kate Reeves as they worked. "Conventional warfare won't work against their technology. We need to adapt." Reeves nodded, already thinking like the tactical expert she was. Guerrilla tactics, small teams, hit and run. Across the world, similar conversations happened as military leaders realized traditional warfare wouldn't work against the invaders. In a college dorm room in Austin, engineering student Peter Hayes watched the internet fail as the aliens destroyed key infrastructure. Using old radio parts and gaming equipment, he began building a makeshift communication device. "They can take down the internet," he told his roommates, "but they can't stop all radio waves. We just need to find frequencies they're not monitoring." President Clark addressed what remained of the United Nations via emergency broadcast. "Citizens of Earth, we face an enemy beyond our experience," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "But humans have never backed down from a challenge. We will adapt. We will learn. We will survive." As the first day of invasion ended, Earth was burning. The Drakai established bases in captured cities. They believed victory would come within a week. They didn't understand that humans were just getting started. In the wreckage of her lab, Dr. Johnson stared at her phone screen, reviewing the strange reaction she had recorded. "This could be something," she said to herself. "This could be our chance." 3 months passed since the Drakai first attacked Earth. What started as an easy victory for the aliens had turned into a frustrating occupation. Humans did not break as expected. Instead, they adapted. In an underground lab beneath the ruins of San Francisco, Dr. Lisa Johnson worked day and night with physicist Dr. Alan Winters. They had surrounded themselves with pieces of alien technology salvaged from crashed ships. "Look at this," Dr. Johnson said, pointing to her computer screen. "The shield frequencies change when exposed to specific light patterns. It's like they have a natural weakness to certain wavelengths. Dr. Winters adjusted his glasses. If we can create a pulse weapon using those frequencies, we might be able to disable their shields long enough to damage the ships. We'll need to test it, Dr. Johnson said. And we'll need help building enough weapons. On the main Drakai command ship, Captain Frank Martinez sat quietly in his cell. The aliens had not killed him, believing he had valuable information about Earth's defenses. What they didn't realize was how much Martinez was learning from them. He had watched guard rotations, studied their technology, and listened to their language until he began to understand basic commands. Most importantly, he had made contact with a sympathetic luminary medic assigned to check on prisoners. Your people fight in unexpected ways, the luminary said quietly during one visit. The Drakai are confused. They control your cities, but not your people. Martinez smiled slightly. Humans are good at improvising. Across North America, Colonel Butler had organized resistance cells in every major city. They used Peter Hayes' communication network to coordinate attacks without the Drakai detecting their plans. The key is unpredictability, Butler explained to a group of new recruits in the sewers beneath Chicago. Attack in small groups. Never use the same method twice. Make them waste resources trying to find patterns that don't exist. Major Reeves had developed a system for collecting and distributing alien weapons. Their guns are designed for their three-fingered hands, she explained, but with some modifications, humans can use them even better than they do. In orbit, Commander Grant had slowly rebuilt a human presence on the moon. Using stealth and the Drakai's own arrogance against them, his teams had reclaimed parts of the lunar base. They were carefully studying alien ships from a distance and planning their next move. In the Galactic Council chambers, Ilara watched reports of the human resistance with silent pride. While other council members had expected Earth to be fully conquered within weeks, she had known better. Now, some were beginning to question the wisdom of allowing the invasion. The humans have destroyed 17 supply ships in the last month alone, one council member noted. The Drakai are requesting more resources. Ambassador Krell fumed. They use primitive tactics. They hide in their own ruins and strike without honor. They refuse to face us directly. They are fighting as they must to survive. Ilara replied calmly, just as I warned they would. On Earth, Peter Hayes had made a breakthrough. Working from a hidden server farm in the mountains, he had managed to tap into the Drakai communication systems. I'm in, he told his team of hackers. I can now intercept and even send fake communications to their ships. They won't know which orders are real and which are from us. In her secure bunker, President Clark received reports from resistance cells worldwide. The news was encouraging for the first time since the invasion. The tide is turning, she told her advisors. Dr. Johnson's shield-penetrating technology is ready for testing. Hayes can disrupt their communications, and I've received a message from a new ally. She showed them a transmission from Ilara, offering information about Drakai weaknesses and movements. We are not alone in this fight, the president said. And we are just getting started. Captain Frank Martinez counted the steps between guard rotations one more time. 6 months in captivity had taught him patience. The luminary medic had slipped him a small device that would disrupt the cell door for exactly 30 seconds. It's now or never, he whispered to himself as the lights dimmed for the night cycle. When the next guard passed, Martinez activated the device. The door slid open silently. He moved through the Drakai ship like a ghost, using all he had learned about their routines. Within an hour, he had reached an escape pod and launched toward Earth. As Martinez's pod streaked through the atmosphere, something remarkable was happening on the ground below. Dr. Johnson stood on a rooftop in what was once downtown Los Angeles. She held a device that looked like a modified flashlight. Behind her, 20 resistance fighters carried similar tools. Remember, aim for their engines after the shields drop, she instructed. The pulse will only disable the shields for 10 seconds. A Drakai patrol ship rounded the corner between two damaged skyscrapers. Dr. Johnson raised her device and fired. A burst of patterned light hit the ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the shield around the ship flickered and disappeared. "Now," she shouted. The resistance fighters fired their weapons. Without shields, the Drakai ship was vulnerable. It crashed to the street below. "It works," Dr. Winters said with a grin. "It actually works." Similar scenes played out across the globe as humans put Dr. Johnson's discovery to use. For the first time, they could fight back effectively against Drakai technology. On the lunar base, Commander Grant received Martinez's emergency signal. "Get that pod secured as soon as it lands," Grant ordered. "Captain Martinez may have crucial information." Grant had transformed the lunar base into a formidable stronghold. Using materials from abandoned Drakai supply ships, humans had built new weapons and defenses. The moon had become a staging area for humanity's counterattack. In the Galactic Council chambers, Ambassador Krell faced difficult questions. "The Drakai assured us this would be a simple operation," one council member said. Yet 6 months later, humans not only resist, but are now destroying your ships. "We need more forces," Krell demanded. "The humans are using tricks and stolen technology. This is not a fair fight." Ilara spoke up. "Perhaps that was your mistake, Ambassador. You expected humans to fight by your rules." On Earth, President Clark met with her military leaders in a new underground headquarters. Martinez had arrived with invaluable intelligence about the Drakai fleet. "Their main command ship has weaknesses here and here," Martinez explained, pointing to a diagram. "And they're running low on supplies. The Galactic Council is hesitating to send more." Colonel Butler and Major Reeves presented their plan. "We can coordinate a global attack using Hayes Communication Network. Hit them everywhere at once, using Dr. Johnson's shield disruptors. The Drakai expect us to be predictable," Major Reeves added. "But we'll use Earth itself against them. Desert teams will attack at night, Arctic teams during blizzards, jungle teams during rainstorms." President Clark nodded. "They may understand space travel, but they don't understand Earth's environments like we do." She turned to Martinez. "And they certainly don't understand human determination." Peter Hayes joined the meeting via secure link. "I can send false orders to confuse their ships during the attack. They won't know which communications are real." The plan was set. After 6 months of occupation, humans were ready to take back their world. Commander Grant sent a message from the moon. "Lunar forces ready. Operation Turning Point begins at dawn." Across Earth, resistance fighters prepared for the largest coordinated attack in human history. Tomorrow would change everything. Operation Turning Point began at dawn, just as planned. But for the Drakai, the sun rose on their worst nightmare. In the skies above North America, 12 ships appeared seemingly from nowhere. These vessels had been built in secret, deep in mountain ranges and underwater facilities. They combined human engineering with reverse-engineered alien technology. Admiral Diane Cooper stood on the bridge of the lead ship, named Defiance. She was an experienced naval commander who had adapted quickly to space combat. "All ships, engage as planned," she ordered. "Target their command vessels first." The human fleet moved with surprising speed and agility. Unlike the bulky Drakai ships, Earth vessels were smaller and more maneuverable. They darted between enemy ships, firing Dr. Johnson's shield disruptors followed immediately by conventional weapons. On the ground, Colonel Butler led forces to reclaim New York City. They used the subway tunnels to move unseen, emerging to strike at Drakai positions before disappearing again. "They expect us to attack from the air or open streets," Butler told his soldiers. "So we'll come from below, from inside buildings, from anywhere they don't expect." Major Reeves led similar operations across Europe. Her teams used weather to their advantage, attacking during a heavy snowstorm that confused Drakai sensors. "They never bothered to adapt to Earth's weather," she said as her team disabled a Drakai outpost in the middle of a blizzard. "That's their mistake." On the Drakai command ship, Commander Vortax watched in growing horror as reports of attacks came in from all directions. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "They are attacking everywhere at once. Our communications are filled with contradicting orders." His lieutenant looked nervous. "Sir, we can't tell which orders are real. Someone is in our communication system." That someone was Peter Hayes, who sat in his makeshift control center sending false retreat orders to Drakai ships in perfect imitation of their command codes. In orbit, Commander Grant led the lunar forces to join Admiral Cooper's fleet. Together, they targeted the Drakai supply ships, cutting off resources from the ground forces. "We're not just fighting to push them back," Grant told his pilots. "We're fighting to make sure they can't resupply or regroup." The Drakai had never faced such a comprehensive defeat. They had conquered 17 worlds before Earth, but none had fought back like this. None had adapted so quickly or used the invaders' own technology against them. On the Galactic Council, emergency alarms sounded as the tide of battle shifted dramatically. Live feeds showed human forces reclaiming cities across Earth. The council chamber erupted in shocked conversations. "Impossible," one member said. "They were primitive just months ago." Ilara stepped forward. "I warned you all. Humans adapt faster than any species we have encountered. They learn, they improve, and they never give up." Ambassador Krell was summoned to explain the Drakai losses. He entered the chamber looking pale and shaken. "We request immediate reinforcements," he demanded. "The humans have. They have beaten you," Ilara suggested quietly. Back on Earth, President Clark received updates from the front lines. For the first time since the invasion, she allowed herself to smile. "Send word to Admiral Cooper and Commander Grant," she instructed her staff. "Begin Phase 2. Don't just push them back. Capture their ships intact when possible. We're going to need a space fleet." By sunset, humans had reclaimed control of 6 major cities. Drakai forces were in retreat across the globe. Their formations were broken, their communications compromised, and their supply lines cut. Commander Vortax made a difficult decision. "Order all ground forces to return to ships. We must regroup in orbit." But even that order was intercepted by Hayes and delayed just long enough for human forces to capture thousands of Drakai soldiers. The day that began with dawn attacks would end with humanity's first major victory. And they were just getting started. Daniel knew they were running out of time. The war beasts were growing weaker, and the world was getting more chaotic every day. Protests filled the streets, and governments argued about what to do next. Some wanted to destroy the creatures completely, while others thought there might still be a chance to save them. Daniel, Rachel, and their team decided to take one last desperate step. They would try to talk directly to the war beasts. Laura's notes had given them a clue. She had written down how the war beasts communicated, not just with sounds, but also with feelings. Using her translation programs, they created a message. It was simple. "We are here to help." They broadcasted it through speakers near the largest war beast, the one that seemed to lead the others. At first, nothing happened. The creature stood still, its massive body towering over everything around it. For a moment, Daniel thought the plan had failed. But then, the war beast moved. Slowly, it turned toward them and took a step forward. Its movements were careful, almost gentle. Behind it came another, smaller war beast. This one was hurt, its metal and flesh body damaged. Rachel gasped when she saw it. Without thinking, she stepped closer, holding up her hands to show she meant no harm. To everyone's surprise, the large war beast let her approach. Rachel knelt beside the injured creature. She didn't know much about fixing something so strange, but she did her best. She cleaned the wounds and used tools from their supplies to patch up the broken parts. The war beast watched her silently, its glowing eyes softening. Daniel felt his heart race as he realized this might actually work. Through trial and error, the team started to understand the war beasts better. They learned that the creatures could send messages through low hums and vibrations. With Laura's program, they translated bits of these messages. The war beasts weren't invaders. They were survivors, fleeing from enemies who had once controlled them. Their ship had crashed on Earth by accident, leaving them stranded and confused. Daniel knew they needed to go further. Talking through machines wasn't enough. He came up with an idea, one that scared even him. "I'll connect with them," he said, directly. Rachel shook her head. "It's too dangerous. We don't know what will happen if you link your mind to theirs." "I have to try," Daniel replied. "If we can truly understand them, maybe we can help them leave peacefully." After hours of preparation, Daniel stood face to face with the largest war beast. He wore a device on his head, designed to sync with the alien signals. As the machine hummed to life, Daniel closed his eyes. Suddenly, he felt like he was falling. Images flooded his mind, strange planets, battles in space, and pain beyond anything he could imagine. But there was also hope. The war beasts wanted freedom. They wanted safety. When Daniel opened his eyes again, he was back on Earth. He looked at Rachel, tears streaming down his face. "They're not our enemies," he whispered. "They need us." With Daniel's guidance, the team helped the war beasts start repairing themselves. Together, they worked tirelessly, sharing knowledge and trust. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when it felt like everything might fall apart. But slowly, the war beasts began to heal. As the days passed, Daniel realized something important. The war beasts weren't just teaching humans about technology. They were showing them something far greater: compassion, understanding, and maybe, just maybe, a way to live together in peace. The war beasts were changing. With Daniel's help, they had begun to repair their damaged bodies and the remains of their ship. Each day, the humans and the creatures worked side by side, learning from one another. The war beasts showed the humans how to use their advanced technology, sharing knowledge that could change the world. In return, the humans gave them food, materials, and care. It was hard work, but it brought hope to everyone involved. Rachel stayed close to Daniel, watching him closely. She could see how much the connection with the war beasts had changed him. He seemed calmer now, more sure of himself. But she also noticed the toll it took on him. His body was exhausted, and sometimes he would wake up shaking from dreams about alien worlds. Still, he never complained. He believed in what they were doing. One morning, the largest war beast approached Daniel and Rachel. It made a low humming sound, and its glowing eyes focused on them. Using the translation program, they understood its message. "Thank you." Daniel smiled weakly, feeling both relief and sadness. He knew the war beasts wouldn't stay forever. Their home wasn't Earth. It was somewhere far away among the stars. As the repairs continued, news of the progress spread around the world. People watched in awe as videos showed the war beasts working peacefully alongside humans. Many who had once feared the creatures now saw them differently. They weren't monsters. They were survivors, just like anyone else trying to find a safe place to live. Even those who had been against helping them started to soften their views. President Morgan held a press conference to announce a decision. After weeks of debate, the government agreed to let the war beasts stay until their ship was ready to leave. In exchange, the creatures promised to share some of their knowledge with humanity. It was a historic moment, a promise of peace between two very different species. But not everyone was happy. General Briggs and his supporters still wanted the war beasts gone. They argued that keeping them on Earth was too risky. Despite their protests, most people supported the agreement. For the first time in a long while, there was a sense of unity. People talked about building a better future, one where humans and aliens could coexist. Finally, the day came when the war beast ship was repaired. It stood on the edge of the ocean, gleaming under the sun. The creatures gathered around it, preparing to leave. Daniel and Rachel stood nearby, watching silently. They felt proud of what they had accomplished, but saying goodbye wasn't easy. The largest war beast turned to face them one last time. It lowered its massive head, almost bowing. Then, without a sound, it stepped onto the ship. One by one, the other war beasts followed. When the last one was inside, the ship began to rise into the sky. It glowed brightly, casting a warm light over the water before disappearing into the clouds. Daniel looked at Rachel, tears in his eyes. "Do you think we'll ever see them again?" he asked softly. "I don't know," she replied. "But I do know this. They'll remember us. And maybe someday we'll meet others like them." As the crowd cheered and cameras flashed, Rachel whispered something only Daniel could hear. "We did it." For the first time in months, the world felt lighter. The war beasts were gone, but they left behind more than just memories. They taught humanity that fear didn't have to win. Compassion and understanding could make all the difference, and as people looked up at the stars, they wondered if somewhere out there, the war beasts were looking back, remembering a small blue planet that chose to help instead of harm. It was a new beginning, not just for Earth, but for the galaxy. Somewhere among the stars, the war beasts carried the story of a world that dared to believe in peace.